Before I forget, I also want to quickly acknowledge the guest speaker of today, who is no other person but a vibrant scholar, a teacher, and a professor, a human rights activist. He is no other person than Professor Sam Amadi. He was here earlier, and because we didn't start the program early, he had to quickly attend to one other program somewhere. But I'm sure in the next 4 or 5 minutes, he will be here in our midst. I'm sure by now we are all aware of the history or what led to the June 12th celebration. In 1993, on June 12th, a presidential election was held. And that election, for the first time in the history of the country, brought all persons together, both from the north, from the south. It brought Nigerians together, irrespective of their tribe, their sex. And on that election, they spoke in one voice, in unison. Unfortunately for us, that election was annulled by the then military government in Nigeria. It followed with very serious protests. The people of Nigeria stood up and defended their votes. The civil disobedience that came up from that event forced the then dictator, Badamasi Babangida, out of office. And this led to a situation, or led to interim government, from interim government to another coup, and eventually we had democracy in 1999. Two things came out from the election. First, from the 1993 election, the first was that the people came out freely and made their choice. The second point that came out from that election was that the people defended their votes. From 1993 to 2023, we have never had such an unusual circumstances again. But we had that same circumstances last year when Labour Party produced the most credible, the most dynamic, the most popular, the man with proactiveness, the man that would have been the hope of Nigeria, or the man that is still the hope of Nigeria, as presidential candidate of Labour Party, the person of Peter Gregory Obi. He's coming into the race, and with Labour Party driving that process, no doubt, change the political trajectory in Nigeria. Our participation in the 2023 general election changed the political landscape in Nigeria. For the first time, everybody, every person in Nigeria were unanimous that Peter Obi was going to be the president of Nigeria. For the first time, people started donating to the party. Rallies were carried out by the people themselves. The people themselves printed posters. The people themselves were out en masse. And I want to say that Labour Party and Peter Obi won that presidential election. While the military government in 1993 annulled the election of 1993, which was described as the most fairest, and the most credible in the history of Nigeria, the civilian government, ironically, 2023, stole the mandate of Peter Obi and the mandate of Labour Party. The only thing that was absent in the 2023 general election was that the people did not come out to defend their votes, as was done in 1993. Probably would have been in the government house today. But God has a reason for everything. He who runs away from a fight will come back and fight another day. And I want to say clearly, without sounding immodest, without any tears on my cheek, that what happened to us in the 2023 general election never again will happen to us. In 2027, if people vote for us, we will defend our votes and we will reclaim our mandates. Today is a day that is set aside for the celebration of Democracy Day in Nigeria. For me, democracy is not complete without good governance. There are some countries that do not have democracy, but they have good governance. There are some countries like us that have democracy, but no good governance. Like I've always said, it's not capturing power that matters. It is what you do with power. They may have captured power, but has it transformed the life of the citizens of our country? Today, insecurity is ravaging the land. Labour Party again was a victim of insecurity in the land, in the country, last week here. The Delta State Executive, in conjunction with our honorable members, attended a meeting in one of the constituencies in Delta State. And on their way back, their vehicle was attacked and Labour Party officials were kidnapped. The state women leader of our party in Delta State, and indeed some other officials of the party were kidnapped. The women leader was later released, but with a gunshot on her legs. As we speak now, she is currently in the hospital. All other Labour Party officials were just released yesterday after they have paid ransom. A lot of them are sick, some of them are in coma because they were macheted all over their bodies. Their head, their hands, their legs, all parts of their body. In the Anambra election, the last Anambra election, Labour Party was again a victim of that election. It was very clear that we were going to win that election. But the governorship candidate was kidnapped. Until today, he is not found. That is the trajectory of our country. Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution is clear that security and welfare shall be the principal purpose of governments. Nigerians today are not asking for welfare. Secure our lives. And the government cannot provide security. Hunger, inflation, unemployment, fuel scarcity has become the hallmark of our country. Today, the country is not working. I'm not the guest speaker of today, but I probably just want to set the stage for the discussion of today. We can say we have democracy. We have no good governance. We can say we have democracy that is guided. Democracy where the wishes and aspirations of the people is not respected is no democracy. And that played out in the 2023 general election. And that's why for us in Labour Party, we have decided that we are going to pursue 3 cardinal programs, or 2 main programs. One as victim of the 2023 general election, we have decided as a party that we must pursue a holistic electoral reform in Nigeria. The party believes strongly that with the current electoral system we have, even if we still win in 2027, it may go the same way. And so we feel that we must pursue a holistic electoral reform in the country. And I'm happy to tell you and to inform you that the guest speaker of today has graciously accepted to spearhead and chair that committee of Labour Party electoral reform. By tomorrow, other members of that committee will be released, and we are going to inaugurate that committee by next week so that it can start in earnest to work. We also noticed, or let me put it differently, before this time, I personally used to hold the belief that leadership was the only challenge we have in the country. But with my experiences during the 2023 general election and events thereafter, have shown clearly that followership is also a problem. I have critiqued a definition of leadership that provides that leadership is a reflection of the people. I have argued that it's not true. But I'm forced to go back to believe that truly and really, leadership is a reflection of the people. And this brings me to the point that I want to make, and which is the second cardinal program of the party. The people themselves are also part of the challenge that we have. The people themselves are not playing the role they ought to play. And I give you an example. A man who takes 5,000 naira and decides to vote for somebody that is known to be a thief is as good as a thief. The journalists who will take money and report whatever, even where they know that those reports are not correct, is also part of the challenge. The leader in the party office who takes money and subchange a viable, veritable candidate of the party is also part of the problem. And therefore, the change must necessarily begin with us. And that's why Labour Party's second cardinal program is to pursue a holistic educational program in the party, political education program, which will mind the mind of Labour Party members, which will mind the mind of the people, so that we can have a citizenship participation in government, have people with strong capacity to be able to defend their votes, speak for themselves, and enthrone a Labour Party government that will change the political trajectory in Nigeria. I'm told that my time is up. I want to welcome you all to this event, and I appreciate you for coming. Thank you, and God bless you.
25 years is 25 years of civil rule with some democratic values added. But we are thankful to God because we are not Burkina Faso. Is that also? We are not Niger. We don't have the military attacking us. We are still a civilian democratic, quote unquote. But let me say something very important. Democracy has three aspects to evaluate it. The first is election, the quality of election. An election has two ideas. First is that people have a right to choose their leaders. Is that also? And that people are given opportunity to select those who govern them. The second aspect of a democratic system is that it protects political, economic, and social rights of the people. So a democracy will allow us to gather freely. A democracy will not discriminate against some. A democracy will not arrest somebody because of his political affiliation or his speech. A democracy will allow working people to have good minimum wage. Democracy will allow access to health care. Today, many Nigerians don't have access to the most basic health care. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, our official body for data, said as of 2 years ago that about 154 million Nigerians have no access to toilets, health care, have no access to education. Today, if you pay Nigerians 2,000 naira minimum wage, they will buy 18 of Nido. Do you know that big Nido container that we used to buy 3 or 4 from women who gave birth? The price is 61,000 naira. Today, the Food and Agriculture Organization says about 34 million Nigerians will go into acute hunger and starvation. That is not success. The third element of democracy is accountability. That leaders are accountable. That if they want to change your national anthem, they will ask you for your views, they will listen to you, then they take your comments. That if there are important issues, they will go to the grassroots, local government, ask people for opinion, and generate feedback. That if they want to build a coastal road, and people say, we want road within the city, they will pause and reflect. That's accountability. We've not got that. Now, let me say what I think is the major problem. The major problem that we have to resolve is first election. In 1993, when we had the June 12th election, many of us, I was in law school, I was part of the campaign for democracy. We went across the country. We were those who were putting tire in Ojuelegba Express Road, going to picket Marina, travel with posters from Lagos to Port Harcourt to the southeast, distributing, arrested and detained. But one thing was clear. Humphrey Monsu did a free and fair election that resulted in Abiola winning even in the southeast, south-south, Muslim Kano. And the result was not declared. Today, we have not improved our election. The result was annulled, but 2023, a result was annulled through pulling down the IRF. The INEC annulled the 2023 election. Till today, INEC has not provided a justification why the electronic transmission did not work. I have said it openly as a lawyer with great expertise in administrative law. INEC was bound by the regulation it made. Every judge that says otherwise is wrong. When a regulator says we are going to go this way through a lawful lawmaking power, it cannot go this way. It has to change the way and publicly tell all the participants that today we're going to, the INEC continue to say the election will be electronically transmitted. Again, we were those who fought. Why did we fight for the electoral transmission? Because previous elections has been rigged through the movement from voting center to collection center and wanted real-time declaration. South Africa did that now. India has done that. Countries in the world have got elections transparently displayed. We must get beyond where INEC will decide to call results. Results should be self-declared.
Yes, sir.
When people vote, they go home with the result. We don't have to wait for the ritual of a chief priest coming to announce result. Like in the old days, they go to the coven to ask the gods. Results declare themselves. Secondly, President Jonathan made a point a few days ago that two people are killing democracy. INEC, that rigged the election, and the courts that rigged the result. If we don't fix these 2 points, we can't fix democracy. The presumption of democracy is that people, leaders, will respond to the electorate. Why can't a leader respond to electorate if electorate has no power to vote him out? Democracy fails when elections are mere shambolic. Justice Nsofo, when he was deciding for Buhari as minority, says that election conducted by Professor Wu was sham election. The 23 election would have been a great election, but at the end, it turned out shambolic because INEC shut down the only electronic device that would have restrained it. I think it's an error for any party to proceed to 27 election without first cleansing INEC, strengthening the control, and improving election. See the problem with Nigerian politicians. Everybody is thinking about, he's a friend to INEC. Next time they'll favor me. God will favor me. INEC will favor me. We should no longer be expecting favor. Elections should be predictable, clear, and certain.
Thank you.
Elections should not depend on who knows INEC chairman, who knows INEC commissioner. Elections should depend on the people decide that you must be the person they want, and then the person they will be in power. There's no party that has the incentive and the capacity to do this work than Labour Party. Because the reason is because a party that by its name stands for the working people is already majority. The challenge for Labour is to now be truly the people's party. Be the vanguard to drive the fight against a rotten system. Don't be part of the connivance to sustain a rotten system. We have to cleanse the INEC. INEC has to be cleansed to have free and fair election. Election was annulled on June 12th, and we had a crisis. On May, we are on February 6th, 25th, an election that was almost becoming transparent was quote unquote annulled by INEC by shutting down the server. If you look at results, you see mutilation. How can electoral results have cancellations? That should have been nullified, those results. I commend Labour Party for taking the initiative. We have to fight. And again, thank God, honourable member, you are here. It's a shame that the National Assembly has not probed INEC's performance.
Yes.
How can you spend over 400 billion to run election that the courts have scattered and nullified, and the legislators do not ask questions? How did INEC spend this money? What did INEC do or did not do? There should be a national urgency to constitute a probe of INEC. That's how you start a problem. After every process, you probe, you audit what you have done, so that you discover whether it's a failure of system of morality of individuals. Today, we are still giving them more power to run elections without asking, how did you do the one you did? The most primary work of legislator is what you call oversight. It's not only oversighting NEPA, oversighting central bank. The main agency that ought to be oversighted, starting with a parliamentary probe, is INEC. I went to court myself, Federal High Court, to sue INEC commissioners and chairmen and ask the IG, Mandamus, to prosecute them for failure to transmit the result. That's a private person's initiative. Of course, when the Supreme Court erred, in my view, by saying it's not compulsory, I had to withdraw my case. But the parliament has a responsibility to call them and say, tell us how you spent the money. Tell us the processes. We are behaving like Mumu in Nigeria. You give somebody billions for an election, and he doesn't come back to you and say, this is how we did it, and next time you give him more money. South Africa spent less than 20% of what INEC spent. INEC's per capita spend on election is one of the biggest. I will oppose anybody giving INEC more money for elections. They have to first tell us what they did. Second point, and what I've told you, INEC chairman knows, I've said it clearly, left for me, all the commissioners in INEC should resign. Constitute a new INEC. Listen very carefully. Ways gave us a template for INEC that will work. He says, stakeholder INEC. All the parties should have members on that board. If you go to many countries in the world, Labour, APC, PDP, they should be part of the board of elections. If your party is there, then they can't allow themselves to be dribbled or rigged. The electoral rigging starts before election. It starts with the rules, the process, the regular, and I've written so much on this saying INEC, you are a regulator. Stop behaving like a transaction manager. You have to make rules on record. You have to make rules on deliberation. People have to write you reports, write briefs. For example, somebody goes and does a primary somewhere, and INEC commissioner there will say the primary is okay. INEC will sit in the headquarters and say it's not okay. Why would INEC not respect the report of the people they sent? Those reports are legal materials for making decisions. That's why we had Lawal and the Senate president back on the Senate. They lost the primary, reported by Maggie Guinea. They were not elected, they lost. INEC went back and brought them back. INEC defeats their own regulation because they have no internal consistency. Labour Party must be at the vanguard to rectify. If we get back to ways, and they are doing electoral reform, why can't we go back to ways? Have INEC that are through competitive recruitment, where the president, who is not the one running election, is the one who appoints the man who will supervise his election. President Jonathan, when he left office, told me, he said he has realized that it is wrong for presidents to appoint INEC commissioners, because they are participants in a fight. INEC commissioners, like in South Africa, are appointed through competitive. You apply for the job, the committee screens you and recommend you. So when you go there, you're not going there as an appointee of a politician. You're going there as somebody who got there by merit. How you are appointed determines how you perform. Very important. We must do that. Secondly, we must have laws in our election that does not give any public official discretion to decide the result. Once we vote, it should go up straight. Anybody can declare a winner with the result we have. If the results come out like we saw in South Africa, why should we wait for somebody to go back and give us a winner? A winner has emerged. We don't wait for official certification. But the result is the result. The result should not depend on conjunctures and sorcery that INEC or anybody does in-house. I want to make another point very clear. I think that all the opposition parties should work together. You don't have to merge. You have to work together. to win the battle over electoral reform.